Chapter 991. The spiritual energy palm that was about to attack Luo Qingtong was ruthlessly cut open. The Silver Sword Elder, who was laughing and leaping into the air, opened his palm to grab Luo Qingtong. His face suddenly turned cold and his pupils constricted. The next second, rumble. His figure was immediately sent flying. A violent explosion came from his body. However, when the smoke and dust dissipated, the Silver Sword Elder's figure was revealed. Although he was in an extremely sorry state, he didn't suffer any serious injuries. Evil Dr. Guitong, I told you you can't do anything to me. Chapter 996. A Sage Realm expert isn't as simple as your sister-in-law. Luo Qingtong raised her hand to block the person in front of her. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Don't call me that in the future, then smiled lightly and polite to you. Who told you that this move of mine was a killing move? But the threat and coldness as soon as Luo Qingtong's voice fell, the wind and clouds was jealous because of Yu Xi matter last time. Rumble. If Yu Xingqi's words were heard by him and he investigated, following the appearance of this whirlpool, the surrounding demonic beasts all wailed and knelt on the ground. She didn't want Yi Qianxian to be unhappy. Her eyes didn't diminish. The dual pressure from their bloodline and soul forced them to kneel in fear. Look at how handsome my brother is. Bang. When all the demonic beasts were prostrated, a loud and sonorous cry he's also the king of the southern territory. He has strength, a huge claw suddenly stretched out and pressed heavily on the Silver Sword Elder's followed behind Luo Qingtong. The tip of the claw pierced the Silver Sword Elder where Luo Qingtong had previously attacked. The only thing he didn't do was to sell Silver Sword by his weight. Elder fell to the ground. Not interested. Before he died, his eyes were still wide open, and she didn't know what was going on. Where did that huge claw come from? Such a terrifying up with her pace, what level of demonic beast was my brother is really good. She nodded when her head. When the Silver Sword Sect Elder died, you won't lose anything if you marry him. Miniature pig form appeared in the sky. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at the cute little lily raised her hand and scooped this little pig into her bosom. Were really shocking. On her forehead, she tried so hard to promote her brother just to let her body staggered for a moment. Yu Xingqi nodded her head with a serious face. Wait until you marry him, Silver Sword then I can go back and be the sect master. Little pig patted his chest with his smiling face looking at Luo Qingtong. As it turned out, Luo Qingtong's heaven-conquering art was only a feint. You'll get a peerless beauty as your husband. The real killing move was Little Pig's true form after the seal was the queen of the southern territory. That Silver Sword Elder was injured. Your brother can't be considered a peerless beauty. Strength. If it would have been difficult to deal with him. But this is the reason why you're promoting your brother to me. Elder had died in Luo Qingtong's hands. Can't suppress the Silver Sword Elders who were still strenuously resisting the tide of demonic. When she heard that Yu Xi Huang knelt on the ground and cried bitterly, she hurriedly left a letter to spare their lives. It was all for the sake of helping that stupid brother of his win over the beauty. But her eyes were filled with evil. She looked at Luo Qingtong. As long as you can come out from under them alive, I'll spare your lives. People. But she didn't want to accept their stupid said that they wanted to have a dream of their shame was broken. The southern region Luo Qingtong was now she might let them have a taste. Then as Luo Qingtong's sister-in-law raised her hand, be my sister? She instantly found her sister-in-law to marry her brother. Then it settled. Luo Qingtong suddenly sympathized with this way. If you see Huang, what should she do again? Wouldn't she have a chance to bully him back? What are you thinking? 992. She will have a backer in the future. Understood your brothers and Qingtong had no intention of dominating the southern region. There were so many GPs you should although she was impossible for them to come out alive. But isn't that too troublesome? Luo Qingtong didn't want to be her brother. They had just threatened her sisters also, and their expressions were still vivid in their minds. Now they had to taste the bitter fruit themselves. Chapter 997. Moreover, Luo Qingtong raises her countless times more ruthless and cold. I thought you should be more worried about whether or not I would kill you to hide my identity, running away with snot and tears streaming down their faces. The smile in Yu Xingqi's they couldn't even run away in that kind of situation. Her eyes let alone the trace of panic. Before they could try her best to calm down by a group of demonic beasts who were panting heavily. I have my brother's senses on me. It's not wise for you to go against him. At this moment, these Silver Sword members must be extremely regretful. Although she is cunning, black-bellied, if they knew this would be the result, they wouldn't have provoked who to provoke and who not to provoke. But now it was all too late. Luo Qingtong definitely belongs to the group of people who cannot be provoked. Little Pig was held in Luo Qingtong's do whatever they say, regardless of the consequences. He stretched his neck and looked at the scene behind him that was not suitable for children as the evil doctor ghost tongue in his heart. She only felt that this girl who rose from a low-level country is somewhat interesting. Offending her she was in the heavenly evil group. Although Silver Sword members were probably regretting their actions to death. But when she knew this would be the result, they wouldn't have begged for mercy. It was completely being beaten to death and swallowed by demon beast was better than being gang raped to death. Really didn't expect just as he was thinking, can win against the people of the Silver Sword blocked his eyes. After Luo Qingtong led the people of the Silver Sword away, she thought that Luo Qingtong would run away walked out of the mountain range. But who would have thought that she would actually kill them all? Luo Qingtong's brow suddenly furrowed. Before Yu Xingqi she stopped and saw the fate of the people of the Silver Sword. Appeared in her line of sight. That Silver Sword Elder is a Saint Realm expert, but he also looked at the group of people although he was injured before, and the man that was surrounded in the center had a sharp and fierce tide, but that is not the reason why Luo Qingtong can unsheathe a sharp sword. It was precisely Luo Qingtong is very the man's aura was much more harmonious than when Luo Qingtong had first met him. Is really afraid that she must have listened to her suggestion and improved the circulation of his meridians very uneasy and corrected the drawbacks of the incomplete sword technique. Really, it's not worth it for you to make a move against me. Luo Qingtong's pupil technique had not been completely withdrawn. I promise I won't tell my brother about you, okay? Her gaze swept across the group of people, and she discovered that their auras were almost all at the martial spirit realm. She originally only wanted to scare Yu Xingqi. Only one or two of them were martial ancestors, and they were at the peak of the martial ancestor realm. Moreover, Yu Xihong was not her enemy, who was surrounded in the middle. Luo Qingtong didn't care whether the other party knew her identity or not, and she could break through to the same realm at any time. There was less trouble. These people were not weak. After all, Yi Qianxian was still jealous. Raised her eyebrows when she thought of the extraordinary news of the Lanyue family that she had heard in Tianyue Empire. Let's go. He didn't know if the Lanyue family had such power and influence because of the Lanyue. Oh my God, I've escaped death. It was said that he had left home at a young age and was taken away by a powerful expert a long time ago. Luo Qingtong's he didn't return to the Lanyue family until he became an adult and could practice. The latter was about the same age as Yu Xingqi, but he was not as eccentric as Yu Xingqi place. He was very pure and harmless. And it seemed that they were not inferior to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qing hasn't seen him since the last time she detoxified him. She heard that the Lanyue aristocratic family originally wanted to send him to the Tianyue Branch Academy. Who is it? But for some reason, the group of people swept over to her. It is said that he was taken away by someone. Luo Qingtong's because it was related to the Lanyue aristocratic family's family ghost mask on her face. Luo Qingtong didn't ask much. With the Lanyue clan's old man and Yan Yuju's love for him, extremely the place where the little boy when came out from the forest to him. Yan Yuju and the others when she saw Yan Yuju just now, nor did they know that she was wearing the Rakshasa, but because of his junior sister, she forgot. Yan Yuju brought people forward, only to find that the person opposite was actually someone familiar. Young Master 998. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. Entering the main city she was not surprised that Yan Yuju would recognize Yu Xingqi in the city lord's manor and had someone watch over him. However, soon after she went to Yan Yang and the others. Luo Qingtong did not care that the other party knew her identity. Yan Yang and the others in any case, she was not afraid of her identity being exposed now. Luo Qingtong, the reason why she was still hiding it was just the subconscious action hall. It was always right to have more trump cards. Why did she have to deliberately flip everything over for others to see? Hearing this, she immediately replied, Luo Qingtong liked to see the expressions of those who looked down on her when they finally realized that they had regarding the heavenly divine doctor. It could be considered her bad taste. Luo Qingtong's I didn't expect it to be brightened. The light in Yan Yuju's eyes was pleasantly surprised. Yan Yang shook her head. When he said this, we have investigated that Luo Qingtong, that heavenly divine doctor, should be someone from Great Yang. It's very dangerous. Furthermore, she is definitely related to Great Yang's imperial family. That Luo Qingtong was very powerful. She narrated the information when she was a martial king and the others had once killed a martial emperor. That heavenly divine doctor places great importance on the concealment of her identity at that time. Furthermore, this was the depths of the mountain range near the main city of the Blackfield. Behind any information or traces everywhere, and their strength was tyrannical. However, from the people that she mobilized, we can see that she should be related to Great Yang's imperial family. Only powerhouses above the martial emperor this was all due to Luo Qingtong's efforts. Yan Yuju also glanced around and found that there was no one secretly following and protecting. The latter had almost suffered a great loss. That was why she asked this question. She had abandoned her personal maidservant and had even been pursued by the experts of the Blackfield. Why if it were not for the wisp of smoke in her body, it seemed that she would have been caught on the spot, as her grandfather said, were false. However, it was also for some reason when she had hastily mobilized many people, unconsciously revealing the strength that only Great Yang's imperial family could mobilize. Luo Qingtong responded in a low voice and did not say anything else. To find some clues. At this moment, a girl in a pink robe beside Yan Yuju suddenly said, people of all trades. Senior brother, you know her? She was also a person who knew how to act and speak well. Stared enviously at the young lady to analyze what she wanted from the words of others. She could topple cities. Therefore, she immediately since the other party seemed to be very familiar with Yan Yuju, clues about the heavenly doctor's identity. Thinking back to the last time Yan Yuju went home to visit her relatives, she kept mentioning didn't explain it in the message. It couldn't be this person in front of her, asked Luo Qingtong to come to the Blackfield's main city and personally explain it to Luo Qingtong. You're just a martial emperor. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes of this mountain range. It was actually someone from Great Yang. He must be lying. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows slightly with a cold snort. If she remembered correctly, she was very disdainful of the other party's cultivation. The sacred capital after the heavenly doctor's failure at the Great Chu sacred dynasty. He was deliberately not telling the truth. They were openly plotting hiding the throne of the Great Chu. As she thought of this, she suddenly thought of the heavenly tide that had erupted in the mountains earlier. Just a moment ago, recalled the poison technique she had used against Feng Wan when she was investigating his identity. Even though they were not weak, they could only temporarily avoid the brunt of the attack. Even if that heavenly doctor wasn't in their hearts that some kind of treasure had appeared, causing the demonic beasts in the mountain range to become so martial king? From the looks of it, perhaps it was really big, and that treasure had been obtained by Luo Qingtong and wanted to replace her. Song Yan thought of this. On the other hand, he was stirring up trouble in Great Chu in the Empire of Qin. Could it be that you've obtained something from the Empire of Qin that had just erupted? Only Great Qi was missing. Did the other party want to unify the four dynasties? Chapter 994. However, speaking of which, are you afraid that we'll covet your things? Luo Qingtong would rather admire Feng Yuan. She sneered coldly. He was ambitious, powerful, and you really don't have the right to have such good things. It was a pity that he had met her. That beast-tied riot was still vivid in their minds. It was not something that could be compared to an ordinary beast tide. If Feng Yuan was really related to the divine for a long time until just now when the beast tide started to retreat was caused by the latter, they then followed the tracks and chased over. Couldn't help if there really was a treasure fishy about Feng Yuan's identity as the first princess, they might as well give it to them. Great Yong. As for her, she would know it by looking at the situation of the descendants of the great Yong royal family. To send her off. Luo Qingtong anyway, for someone of her strength, to be able to get the list of medicinal materials she brought to Yin Yang and asked them to collect the materials according to the contents. Said proudly, there were not many kinds of medicinal materials in it, only 2 or 3 kinds, but they were not easy to collect. We'll give you a suitable price. Luo Qingtong could let you won't get into trouble because of your wealth. But it was just a few medicinal materials. Her words were very arrogant and particularly precious. It was as if he couldn't collect them after a long time, was a huge favor to the latter. Therefore, when she came to the Black Shield this time, she asked Yin Yang and others to do it. Even if she got it, she would not show it to them. Solving the problem of Luo Qingtong's gaze was cold. Fate could be put on the agenda as soon as possible. When Yin Yuju's face darkened. After all, Luo Qingtong did not intend to stay in the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin for a long time. That was her business. She had asked around and found out that the grand event that was going to happen soon was related to the hidden world. Luo Qingtong would inevitably win the first place in the conference and enter the hidden world to find the whereabouts of her parents, who was standing on the other side of the matter of Machin could only be solved sooner rather than later. Senior brother Yen, it was better to get rid of people like King Wu because of this woman you're lecturing me, so as not to leave him to annoy her. Had been spoiled rotten thinking that King Wu once wanted to take her as a female slave. All the senior and junior brothers gave in to her, burst of disgust. Being lectured by Yen Yuju, not to mention that the divine doctor behind King Wu was related to Feng Yuan. Besides, she couldn't let him go. Luo Qingtong to begin with. Didn't stay in the black field for long. After Yin Yang collected those medicinal materials, she left the black field. I just wanted her to show it to us. Academy of the Empire of Qin. Yusheng naturally followed her. She raised her head. When the two rushed back to the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin, Yin Yuju's expression dragon regiment in the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin, taking other people's things were her own, and she still asked them if it was okay in front of him. He didn't know how to face Luo Qingtong after hearing her say such things. He narrowed his eyes. If he had known that the end result, he would not have brought them to Luo Qingtong. At this moment, that erupted from the latter's body was suddenly rang out. Yuwenma's soul imprint spirit body was as strong as the backlash from the cold chi was. Some people are so self-righteous when they snatch other people's things. I could see that if this cold chi was not removed, Big Sister, he would be crippled for the rest of his life. There was no such thing as a soul imprint, spirit body, or future powerhouse. I can give it to you for free. He might not even be able to use half of his charity. And every day he lived a life worse than death. A petite figure suddenly appeared in front of everyone. At this moment, the people of the Empire of Qin finally understood why Yuwenma was so determined to not break off the engagement with Luo Qingtong. She recognized that the one who appeared here was Luo Qingtong. The cold chi in his body erupted. No one believed that this matter had nothing to do with Luo Qingtong. Looked at Song Yan's ashen face and raised her eyebrows. Did it. She could only guess that it had something to do with their engagement tokens. Later, carried the little white cat that Yuwenma was born with a cold disease and almost couldn't survive, let alone be able to cultivate. Are you angry? The reason why he was able to become a genius powerhouse in these years was entirely ability because of his engagement with Luo Qingtong and settle the score with me. He was afraid that the engagement token had played a big role in it. My brother is called the cold chi in Yuwenma's body was not completely removed because of the engagement token. To sell out his brother. They were afraid that there would be a cure after he would be angered to death here. That was why he was determined not to break off the engagement, throw it to him to wipe her ass. Everyone guessed so and suddenly despised Yuwenma. Wasn't his brother used to be sold out? That's right, he was also used to support her. Chapter 1000. Song Yan's expression changed. As it turned out, the role model in genius was nothing more than a facade. The title of stupid brother was still very disgusting, and the imperial family was worse. Self-introduction made Song Yan's expression very ungrateful. She originally wanted to teach Yusheng the reason why Tianyu's imperial family was revealed. But now that the latter had annihilated his identity, Dr. Ghost, it wasn't good for her because they had offended evil Dr. Ghost I. Although her evil Dr. Ghost I took revenge, the latter was still the king of the southern mountain range. Instead, if she went against Tianyu's imperial family repeatedly attacked, she would definitely be scolded by her elders when she returned. Evil Dr. Gui thinking had a relationship with the Luo family even more so he acted out of anger and exterminated the imperial family. Then she looked at Empress actions were looking at her one by one. She immediately filled with righteous indignation, turned to leave, feeling that Tianyu's imperial family should be exterminated. The group of people behind Yan Yuju quickly chased after their benefactor, but he didn't move. She saved Yu Wenma, Luo, I'm sorry for engagement with him, and made him a genius. Looked at Luo Qingtong, but in the end with an apologetic expression. And because Yu Wenxue didn't like Luo Qingtong as her imperial sister-in-law, would have such an attitude towards the Luo family's concubine, he would have led her away from the beginning. He definitely wouldn't so vicious that it was shameful. Suffer such humiliation. Tianyu's imperial family my junior sister is used to being willful. Yu Wenma clearly knew that his family didn't like Luo Qingtong and the Luo family. He said to Luo Qingtong, but he didn't say a word. Do you need me to send you out? He even forbade them from canceling their engagement with him. Luo Qingtong nodded at him and smiled faintly. The Luo family to their deaths. If it wasn't for Yan Yuju, such selfish and sinister thoughts wouldn't have left so easily. Although he didn't directly attack Luo Qingtong, was never a person who would let others step on her head and behave atrociously without fighting back. Because if it wasn't for him, if Song Yan thought that she was a Luo family, she wouldn't have had to go through so much trouble. You could say that she was vengeful. Those who thought magnanimous enough, but Luo Qingtong would not let herself suffer. Yu Wenma had only himself to blame for one who was looking for trouble. Not to mention, Luo Qingtong didn't do anything to Yan Yuju and bid him farewell. She only took back the Luo family's kindness. Had no choice. What he was suffering now was entirely caused by the illness in his body. With them. What did it have to do with something like this had happened? It was already good enough that the girl didn't kick him when he was down. Besides, she could only nod of his engagement with Luo Qingtong to be more careful. UNMO had enjoyed so many years of glory and Xingqi by her side. Now that he had been beaten back to his original state, he should be satisfied. That with the sister of the Southern Mountain Range no one spoke up. The two of them should have no problem leaving this mountain range. They were all trash. What she didn't know was that Luo Qingtong alone was enough to cross this mountain range to convict Luo Qingtong of the crime of harming a fellow disciple of the same sex. Bid farewell after hearing the rumors that had spread through the heavenly hall. Their faces turned ugly, and she turned around and threw herself at Luo Qingtong. Even if this matter went to the ends of the earth, the elders of the Holy Institute wouldn't be able to do anything to Luo Qingtong. This wasn't Luo Qingtong's fault at all. What was there to punish? Therefore, Mo Qinxian had a premonition that Yu Wenma had been disabled. However, because he had won Su Deheng's support, he didn't particularly care about Yu Wenma's disability. After all, the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin didn't lack powerhouses, and his subordinates didn't lack geniuses either. However, he couldn't figure out why Su Jinyue's illness couldn't be cured. The illness in Su Jinyue's body suddenly broke out and was extremely disgusting. However, it didn't mean that Su Jinyue had been cured before. Why couldn't she be cured now? Chapter 1001. Tong, who hesitated for a moment before asking in a low voice, "Your Highness, I wonder if the expert you know will be able to solve it? If he can, he might be able to make the master of the Soul Institute follow you wholeheartedly." Tong Hu and the others knew that Mo Qinxian had an extremely brilliant alchemist behind him. If they could contact the alchemist and ask him to cure Su Jinyue, the master of the Soul Institute would be very grateful and help His Highness fight for the position of the Crown Prince. However, Mo Qinxuan's face darkened at the mention of this. Don't mention it again. How could he not want to get in touch with that heavenly doctor? But for some reason the latter seemed to have suddenly disappeared. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't contact him. He did not know if there was something wrong with the skill of seizing luck in his body and what had happened to Ma Qinyi. However, it did not matter. Anyway, he had absorbed most of the power of Ma Qinye's bloodline. Even if he could not absorb any more, he was confident that he could break through to a higher level than Ma Qinyi before the grand competition. By then, the latter's position of the Crown Prince and the throne of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin would have to be given up. Thinking of this, Mo Qinxian sneered. He might be worrying for nothing. What could Ma Qinyi do with the pitiful dragon energy in his body? He was already lucky to be able to maintain his strength and not drop. In this world, no one could stop him from reaching the top. As for Luo Qingtong, Mo Qinxian narrowed his eyes and thought of the girl's charm on the stage. Once he had absolute power and strength, would he still be afraid that the other party wouldn't fall into his hands? Although she was a little unruly, it was more interesting to tame a stubborn wild horse, wasn't it? However, before that he had to deal with Yi Luo. Thinking of how Yi Luo protected Luo Qingtong and the supreme holy token in his hand, Mo Qinxuan's face turned cold. Yi Luo was the only hidden danger in his heart. Luo Qingtong was Yi Luo's last student, and Luo Qingtong was on good terms with Ma Qinyi. If that Yi Luo helped Ma Qinyi with the power of the supreme holy token in his hands, even if he was more powerful than Ma Qinyi, he would not be able to obtain the position of Crown Prince. After all, that was the supreme holy token that could influence the decision of a transcendent saint. Thinking of this, Mo Qinxian was indescribably upset. If he had known that Yi Luo had the supreme sacred token, he definitely wouldn't have jumped out to protect the Seoul Institute's head teacher. Even if he wanted to help Yi Luo out of his predicament, he would never step on Yi Luo. He had really miscalculated. As he thought about it, he asked, "Have you found out who Yi Luo is and who the supreme sacred token in his hand belongs to?" No. Tong Hu and the others shook their heads. "We've asked everyone in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, but no one knows the background and identity of Chief Instructor Yi Luo. I only know that he was suddenly appointed by the Grand Principal. Before this there were no signs at all. Your Highness, do you think this is just a smokescreen set up by the Grand Principal? You also know that the Grand Principal is very protective of Luo Qingtong and the others. Because of his identity, he can't openly protect Luo Qingtong and the others, so he purposely created a chief instructor?" Chapter 1002. That person is helping Luo Qingtong and the others under the orders of the Grand Dean? If that wasn't the case, why would Chief Instructor Yi Luo care so much about Luo Qingtong and the rest? And he even has the Supreme Sacred Badge. With Luo Qingtong and the others' background, how could they know such a person? The more Tong Hu and the others spoke, the more they felt it was possible. We're guessing that the Supreme Sacred Badge might have been given to him by the Grand Dean. If that's the case, then Chief Instructor Yi Luo is nothing to be afraid of. After all, with the Grand Dean's status, even if he had the Supreme Sacred Badge, he couldn't interfere with the Crown Prince's affairs. It was even more impossible for him to use the Supreme Sacred Badge to influence the Crown Prince's affairs. Emo Qinxian nodded. He had the same thought, but whether it was true or not, he had to find out more information first. The Supreme Sacred Badges issued by the 4 sacred dynasties were limited. Under such circumstances, it shouldn't be difficult to find out who the one in Yi Luo's hands belonged to. If those people had the Supreme Sacred Badges, then the one in Yi Luo's hands must be the Grand Dean's. This way he wouldn't have any worries. Just as he was thinking, he suddenly heard Su Deheng's voice from outside. "Your Highness King Wu." Following Su Deheng's voice, the door outside was pushed open from the outside. "Great teacher." Emo Qinxian raised his head to look at Su Deheng, who was striding in. After a period of events, the latter looked very old and dispirited. His eye sockets were deeply sunken, and the 2 eyes that were usually filled with arrogance were now filled with lethargy and gloominess. At this moment, Su Deheng looked like a sinister vulture hiding in the dark. His face was gloomy and cold to the extreme. "Your Highness King Wu, I want you to help me deal with Luo Qingtong. I will fully support you in the fight for the throne. As long as I can contact the elders and ministers, they will fully support you. Not only that, but I can also convince the families behind the many geniuses of my Seoul Academy to support you. As long as you help me deal with Luo Qingtong." Su Deheng was like a madman at this moment. His words were incomparably vicious. His face twitched violently, looking extremely ferocious. "What's wrong with the Seoul Institute's great teacher? Why would you suddenly say that?" Seeing him like this, Emo Qinxuan's eyes darkened slightly, and then he asked. It was naturally a good thing that Su Deheng was supporting him so wholeheartedly. However, he had to find out the reason why the other party had suddenly changed their attitude towards Luo Qingtong. After all, Su Deheng's hatred for Luo Qingtong had not reached this level before. It was almost as if he had thrown caution to the wind. "You is awake." Su Deheng's face darkened. "She told me that her poison was most likely caused by the evil Dr. Ghost Eye." At this point, Su Deheng gritted his teeth fiercely. Su Jinhua was neither a human nor a ghost now. He only had one daughter, and he could not let her continue to be like this. All the pharmacists said that they could not cure Su Jinhua's poison. If it was really caused by the evil Dr. Ghost Eye, then even if he found the alchemist in that place, he might not be able to cure Su Jinhua's poison. The only possibility was to ask the evil Dr. Ghost Eye for help. Chapter 1003. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye and Luo Qingtong were old friends, and he had offended Luo Qingtong. How could the latter help Su Jinhua detoxify? Su Deheng even thought that the poison in Su Jinhua's body might have been induced by Luo Qingtong. After all, at that time Su Jinhua was fine. Suddenly, the human-faced ghost sore on her body broke out. At that time, Su Jinhua was confronting Luo Qingtong for him. Thinking of this, Su Deheng's heart suddenly surged with a burst of resentment. "I want to deal with Luo Qingtong and let evil Dr. Ghost Eye cure you, That was his only daughter. Since it was impossible for evil Dr. Ghost Eye to cure her, he would force her to do it. Wasn't she helping Luo Qingtong? In that case he would use the other party to threaten her. Let's see if she was willing to cure her. Evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Emo Qinshian was shocked when he heard this. The poison in Su Jinyue's body was actually caused by Evil Dr. Ghost Eye? It was no wonder that so many people were helpless against the poison in her body. Great teacher, are you sure? He asked. Said that she got it when she was in the Blackfield city of Dongli country. She taught a girl with a white veil a lesson, and that person changed the poison on her long whip. I suspect that the young girl she spoke of is the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It is said that evil Dr. Ghost Eye is evil and flamboyant. It is hard to tell whether he is a man or a woman. I suspect that you has mistaken him for someone else. Su Deheng's face became more distorted when he said this. I must force her to save you, Luo Qingtong and the others are the only breakthrough. If Su Jinyue and the others really offended evil Dr. Ghost Eye, it was absolutely useless to beg for help. They could only start from another place. And Luo Qingtong was that place. Whether it worked or not, Su Deheng could only try his best. In the entire Saint Academy, the most likely person to help him was Emo Qinshian. But Luo Qingtong is now backed by Emo Qinshian, the Grand President, and Yi Luo. It is not so easy to deal with her. Emo Qinshian looked at him and said, if it was just to target Luo Qingtong's life, Emo Qinshian could certainly use the Dragon Regiment to make trouble for her. But it was useless for Su Deheng. The other party wanted to force Luo Qingtong to the extreme and then make a request for her to ask evil Dr. Ghost Eye to save her. With so many people protecting Luo Qingtong, it was basically impossible for her to do this. What if I say that Luo Qingtong might have cheated in the battle? Su Deheng's face darkened. Regardless of whether Yuan Mo brought this upon himself or not, he cheated in the gambling match and broke the rules of the Saint Court. We can use this to protest and sanction the elders. Even the Grand President can't protect her. As for Yi Luo, Su Deheng sneered. The Supreme Holy Token is not omnipotent. As long as he could get hold of Luo Qingtong's weakness, he could make Yi Luo unable to protect her. Moreover, like Emo Qinshian and the others, he also suspected that the Supreme Holy Token in Dr. Ghost Eye's hand belonged to the Grand President. After all, it was too much of a coincidence. The Grand President recommended a chief instructor, who treated Luo Qingtong differently and had the Supreme Holy Token. And he was a nobody. Su Deheng sneered. Chapter 1004. He looked at Su Deheng. Great teacher, are you sure? He asked cautiously. This was a big deal. If it was true, it would definitely consign Luo Qingtong to eternal damnation. Perhaps, it could also affect the reputation of Ma Qinyi and the Grand Dean. In an instant, countless calculations flashed through Emo Qinshuan's mind. Humph. Su Deheng's face was cold. Yuan Mo is my student, how can I not be sure? His soul seal has a special attribute. It's impossible for anyone to have the same attribute as him. You know about his natural cold air, right? Most of his soul seal's attribute comes from the cold air in his body. So, since Luo Qingtong could use his unique soul skill, she must have cheated. I heard that there is a kind of evil technique that can copy and steal other people's soul seal's attribute. The person whose soul seal's attribute is stolen and copied will have their soul seal's ability collapse. It's very vicious and evil. I suspect that Luo Qingtong used that evil technique to cause the cold air in Emor's body to collapse, turning him into a cripple. Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental? Luo Qingtong used the same soul skill to defeat him, and on the other hand his old illness broke out? Su Deheng's face was gloomy. It's completely nonsense to say that it's because of the engagement token between them. How powerful is the cold air in Yuan Mo's body and how powerful his talent is, Your Highness King Wu, you have seen it with your own eyes. How could it be suppressed by a mere engagement token? If it's possible, then what kind of powerful treasure would that betrothal token be? As for the person who saved Yuan Mo and left him some leeway to restrain him, how tyrannical are his medical skills and abilities? How could the marquis residents of the Luo family, a lowly country, have such a person? Su Deheng didn't believe that there was such a thing at all. It was also because Yuan Ma was currently immersed in pain that he couldn't speak. He also didn't know what Su Deheng was thinking. Otherwise, he would have definitely told him that this matter existed. However, he didn't know what Su Deheng was thinking, so he didn't know where to start. If what you said is true, then we do have a chance to force Luo Qingtong into a desperate situation. Emo Qinshuan's eyes were gloomy. Luo Qingtong actually used sorcery to defeat Yuan Ma and make him like this? If this was true, then there was a lot to be done. You can send someone to investigate Luo Qingtong's past. I dare say that she's definitely not an ice attribute soul seal expert. Otherwise, it's impossible that she didn't mention it at all before entering the academy. Su Deheng said resolutely. He was certain that Luo Qingtong had cheated. Luo Qingtong, wait until I find the evidence. I will definitely consign you to eternal damnation. The light in Emo Qinshuan's eyes also brightened. Su Deheng's words could really play a big role for him. The other party wanted to deal with Luo Qingtong, but he wanted to use this opportunity to deal with Ma Chenyi and the highest dean's faction. Great Master, please don't worry. I'll immediately send someone to investigate and collect evidence. At that time, Luo Qingtong will definitely be unable to defend herself and be unable to turn over. He said in a low voice. Okay. Su Deheng nodded. He also knew that there were too many people behind Luo Qingtong, so he couldn't act rashly and alert the enemy. If not, he wouldn't have come to cooperate with Emo Qinxian. Then I'll wait for the good news from King Wu, he said and looked at Emo Qinxian. Chapter 1005. Luo Qingtong didn't know that Emo Qinxian and Su Deheng were discussing how to deal with her. She was currently extorting a confession from Little Pig. Quick, hand over the thing in your hand. Luo Qingtong raised her head and pointed at Little Pig's little head. Ah, what? Little Pig blinked its pair of small beady eyes and pretended to be stupid. Oh. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at it. Do you want me to say it clearly? Show me your little hooves. Luo Qingtong looked at Little Pig's two little hooves. This guy had been behaving strangely along the way and often peeked at its two little hooves. Originally, Luo Qingtong didn't notice it, but its silly smile was too obvious. Luo Qingtong raised her head and glanced at it, and found that the things on its hooves had changed. In the past, Little Pig loved to show off, and its two favorite storage rings were often on its hooves. Now, one of its hooves had been changed into a jade thumb ring. Luo Qingtong absolutely didn't believe that there was nothing fishy about it. This jade thumb ring was definitely newly obtained, so it was showing off like this. Then here came the question. It had been with her for the past few days, so where did it get this jade thumb ring? Luo Qingtong recalled that Little Pig had revealed its sealed true body and slapped the Silver Sword Elder to death with its paw. Did he get this jade thumb ring from that elder of the Silver Sword sect? Before Luo Qingtong could finish her words, Little Pig had already hidden its two little hooves behind its back. But as soon as it did this, Little Pig's expression was filled with despair. Ah! Wasn't it obvious that it was trying to hide something? Sure enough, Luo Qingtong crossed her arms in front of her chest and cast a sidelong glance at it with an indifferent expression. Do you want to show it yourself, or do you want me to take it myself? Oh! Little Pig wailed as he stretched out his little hoof. Luo Qingtong looked at the jade ring on its hoof and asked, Did you get it from the Silver Sword Elder? Little Pig nodded. I found it when I was photographing him. Even if the Silver Sword Elder was a Sage Realm expert, he would still be killed by Little Pig's claw. The jade thumb ring didn't break at that time, so Little Pig put it away. He didn't expect that Luo Qingtong would discover his secret stash so quickly. How infuriating. It originally wanted to play for a while and tell Luo Qingtong when it was tired of playing. Luo Qingtong ignored it and focused on looking at the jade thumb ring. The material of the latter was special. It was obviously a treasure that surpassed the Sage Realm. The aura it emitted was very vast. Luo Qingtong wasn't surprised that the Silver Sword Elder had such a treasure. After all, the latter was a Sage Realm expert and came from a large sect like the Silver Sword. If it wasn't for Yu Si Huang exterminating his sect, who knew how glorious it would be? Just look at the elders in their sect. They are all Sage Realm elders. However, this jade thumb ring gave Luo Qingtong a strange feeling. She didn't pay much attention to it before, but now that Luo Qingtong held the jade thumb ring in her hand, she clearly felt that there was something wrong with its aura. A bloody light flashed in Luo Qingtong's eyes. In the next second she raised her hand and pulled. Swish. The jade thumb ring in her hand instantly pulled out a topographic map of mountains and rivers. It turned out that there were 2 layers of aura on the jade thumb ring, blending with each other. Those who didn't know wouldn't be able to see the mystery. Chapter 1006. Little Pig's eyes instantly widened when he saw the image on the jade thumb ring. There's actually a map hidden in this jade thumb ring? Little Pig looked at the undulating river on the map with a complicated feeling in his heart. No wonder he felt that this jade thumb ring was different. Although its grade wasn't very high, its aura was very strange. That's why Little Pig kept it. Otherwise, how could he be interested in something in the hands of a Sage Realm expert? He didn't expect that there was actually a map hidden in it. This map seems to be. Little Pig looked at the image on the map and suddenly felt that it was somewhat familiar. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's voice sounded. It's the Far West Wilderness. Luo Qingtong looked at the terrain on the map indifferently. After Su Yu and the others went to the Far West Wilderness, they would report back every once in a while. Luo Qingtong was also clear about the situation in the Far West Wilderness. The map depicted the scene of the Far West Wilderness. However, this was only the outermost map. Luo Qingtong looked at the small map marked in the center. The Sage King's tomb? Luo Qingtong looked at the words marked on the map. Sage King? What's that? Is there a classification above the Sage Realm? Luo Qingtong was slightly stunned. She hadn't come into contact with this kind of thing yet. In the past, the Luo family was at the bottom of the hierarchy. They could bully and humiliate the Tianyu Empire at will. The things that Luo Qingtong had access to were limited. She only knew that there was a classification above the Sage Realm. However, it wasn't something that ordinary people could come into contact with. Ordinary people only knew about the Sage Realm and those beyond the Sage Realm. They didn't know the specific classification. Luo Qingtong only knew that there was one Sage Transcendence expert. She only learned about it when Yi Qianxian lured the Sage Transcendence expert out of the Great Chu Imperial Palace. She didn't expect that there was a classification above the Sage Realm. Of course there is, Little Pig answered immediately after hearing her question. The realms above the Saint Realm are similar to the Warrior Realm. They are divided into 9 realms: Saint, Saint Master, Saint General, Saint Marquis, Saint King, Saint Emperor, Saint Spirit, and Saint Sovereign. Among them, Saints, Holy Masters, and Holy Generals are known as Transcendents. Saint Marquis, Saint King, and Saint Emperor are known as the Saint Realm. The Holy Emperor, the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Sovereign are known as the Supreme Transformation Realm. The Saint Realm Masters you usually talk about are only those who have just broken through to the Saint Realm and have yet to break through to the Transcendent Realm. They haven't had the time to comprehend the power of heaven and earth, so they only know how to use the superficial knowledge. Transcendents, on the other hand, have begun to comprehend the essence of the world energy contained in the world energy. The Saint Realm is the beginning of this realm. The Supreme Transformation stage means that one has already comprehended the essence of the stage and is preparing to transform the essence of the stage to reach the Supreme Transformation stage. Little Pig said. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows when she heard what Little Pig said. The Supreme Transformation stage is the Supreme Transformation stage? Yes. Little Pig nodded. But that's too far away for you. Don't worry about it. Anyway, there won't be such a master on this continent. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes slightly. Chapter 1007. Outside of it, there was another world that was even more vast and spacious. In that world, the Sage Realm was just the beginning. But within the True Spill continent, those above the Saint Realm were the pinnacle. However, wasn't this more interesting? What people feared the most was not having a goal. In her previous life, Luo Qingtong stood at the apex of the ability user world. Could be said that she was lonely at the top. Because of her curiosity, she stirred up various forces everywhere, causing them to be restless. Wasn't it because she was too bored? But now, it seemed that she wouldn't be so bored in this life. As Luo Qingtong was thinking this, Yu Xingqi's voice suddenly came from not far away. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong immediately withdrew the image of the jade thumb ring. She threw the jade thumb ring back to Little Pig. Take it first. After the matter in the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin is settled, we will go to the Far West Wilderness. The Sage King's tomb was the tomb of a Sage Realm powerhouse. There must be a lot of good things in there. Since Luo Qingtong obtained this map, she naturally wanted to check it out. And Little Pig put away the jade thumb ring. There must be a lot of good things in there. There is also that Sage King. If his soul is still here, he alone will be enough to awaken that little white ball. At that time it will directly break through to the growth stage. The little white ball that Little Pig mentioned was naturally Snowball. Luo Qingtong nodded. She also had the same idea. Snowball's transformation period was too long. She didn't know if it would be bad for it. If there was an opportunity, Luo Qingtong naturally wanted to help it transform as soon as possible. One person and one pig talked as they walked out of the forest. Yu Xingqi came looking for them. She had just disappeared from Luo Qingtong's sight, so she thought that the latter had left first. Luo Qingtong casually gave a reason, then the two continued to rush back to the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin. 2 days later, Luo Qingtong stepped into the gate of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. "Where's your master? He's not back yet?" Luo Qingtong looked at Feng Yu, who had appeared in the courtyard upon seeing her return. She immediately raised her eyebrows. Yi Chenxian left the day before she left. Luo Qingtong still remembered his ugly expression when he received the news. She didn't know who made him so angry. It must be known that Luo Qingtong rarely saw any obvious changes in Yi Chenxian's expression. Of course, except when she was angry with him. Cough. Feng Yu coughed when she heard Luo Qingtong's question. She said, "Master has some matters to attend to. It might take some time before he comes back." In fact, Yi Qianming wasn't there to deal with matters. He was there to eliminate his love rival. Thinking of the news they had received before, that the king of the southern region had come to the eastern region again, Yi Qianxian was angry on the spot and directly returned to the Black Field. Presumably, the king of the southern region would have a very difficult time in the eastern region. Yes. Luo Qingtong nodded and didn't continue to ask. After informing Su Xiaoxiao and the others, she began to refine the medicine for Ma Chenyi in seclusion. The dragon energy in the latter's body had been absorbed too much. If she wanted to reverse it, she had to use the medicine to nourish it. Otherwise, once she used the reversal technique, she would not be able to bear it. It would be strange if Mo Qinxian didn't devour it. At that time it would help the latter. Chapter 1008. A group of travel-worn girls suddenly appeared in the medicine garden of the Empire of Qin. Senior sister. Senior sister. Seeing the group of girls enter the medicine garden, the students of the medicine garden were all very happy and gathered around. The senior sisters of the Qingwei clique are back. Everyone said happily, "Yes." At the front of the group of girls was a girl in green. She nodded to everyone and then asked, "What happened in the Sacred Academy recently?" Her complexion didn't look very good. The student who was asked didn't pay any attention to it. He told her everything that had happened in the Sacred Institute recently. The most famous one was naturally Luo Qingtong, the Dragon Clique, and Yu Wenma. "Okay, I got it." After listening to everyone's narration, the girl in green fiercely suppressed the expression on her face and then left with the group behind her. When they returned to the courtyard where they were, bang! The green-clothed girl fiercely slapped the door frame. "Damn it, that Luo Qingtong, His Highness the Crown Prince is actually so protective of her?" The green-clothed girl's face was filled with anger. "Is that right? Senior Sister Iran, I didn't say anything wrong, right? That Luo Qingtong has Brother Crown Prince bewitched. If she didn't shamelessly seduce Brother Crown Prince, how could he be bewitched by her? It's really a pity that Sister Qingwei is so devoted to Brother Crown Prince." Mo Yufei added fuel to the fire. She gritted her teeth inwardly. Mo Yufei didn't expect it all. She had only left the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin for a while. So many things had happened in here. Thinking of what she had just heard, that Yu Wenma was crippled by Luo Qingtong, her heart burned with anger. Luo Qingtong, that bitch, how dare she? Mo Yufei was so angry that her hands were almost twisted into a fried dough twist. She even more fiercely said bad things about Luo Qingtong. "Senior Sister Iran, you can't let that woman steal Brother Crown Prince away. Oomph. She has no chance." Iran's expression was ice cold. She ordered the others. "Go, you guys go out and spread the word that our Qingwei group doesn't like Luo Qingtong. We won't refine pills for anyone from the Heavenly Demon group. The same goes for the Resource Hall of the Holy Academy. We will not refine any of the potions claimed by the Heavenly Demon group. In the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, in order to train the students, the medicinal liquid resources distributed to the students were all refined by the students of the Pharmaceutical Academy. As for the other medicinal materials obtained by the students of the Holy Institute, they had to find the students of the Medicine Institute to refine them. As for the Qingwei group, it was formed purely by the students of the Pharmaceutical Institute. The green-robed woman's words were obviously meant to cut off the cultivation aid of Luo Qingtong and the Heavenly Demon group. After all, even if he had the resources, he could not refine it into medicinal liquid. In terms of training results, they were much worse than others. Not only that, she also ordered coldly, "In addition, tell the people of other forces that if anyone is on good terms with Luo Qingtong and the others, our Qingwei group will not refine the potions for them. And if anyone is willing to go against Luo Qingtong and the others, we will refine the potions for them for free." As soon as Luo Yiran said that, Mou Fei's face instantly rippled with joy and pride. Chapter 1009. Let's see if Luo Qingtong still has the face to stay in the Saint Institute of the Empire of Qin. She praised as she spoke. I just want her to leave. Luo Yi sneered. Didn't she have the support of the Crown Prince and the Grandine? Then they would use the method of boiling a frog in warm water to force Luo Qingtong to leave. Let's see how long she could stay here after being ostracized and isolated by the whole institute. Qingwei Group's words quickly spread throughout the Saint Institute. Soon the Heavenly Demon team was isolated. After all, no one wanted to run out of elixirs. They could go outside to find people to refine or buy elixirs. But the price to pay was too high. It was far more cost-effective to find students from the Pharmaceutical Institute to refine elixirs. And the members of Qingwei Group were all very good at refining elixirs in the Pharmaceutical Institute. Under such circumstances, most of the people in the Heavenly Palace of the Saint Institute kept a respectful distance from the Heavenly Demon team. Not only that, but many people deliberately came to make trouble for the Heavenly Demon team for their own benefits. Plus they couldn't get elixirs. The Heavenly Demon team seemed to have fallen into a desperate situation. When Luo Qingtong came out of seclusion, this situation had been going on for a few days. What's going on? Luo Qingtong looked at Yuan Hu and the others who were sitting in the hall. They all looked pale and she didn't know what they were thinking. They didn't even react when they saw her coming. Boss. Seeing Luo Qingtong come out, Yuan Hu and the others were stunned for a moment, then stood up. You came out of seclusion? They heard from Luo Qingtong that she was going to refine elixirs in seclusion. Yes. Luo Qingtong nodded, then looked at them and said, What's wrong with you? You're being targeted. Someone wants to deal with you. Yu Xingqi said as she skipped in front of Luo Qingtong. She looked up and smiled sweetly. Sister? Since Luo Qingtong didn't say she couldn't call her sister, Yu Xingqi changed the way she addressed Luo Qingtong. Yes. Luo Qingtong didn't correct her. It was just a title, no big deal. She cared about Yu Xingqi's words. Someone wants to deal with me and you? Oh. Luo Qingtong asked. The Dragon Group? Seoul Institute's master and the others? Luo Qingtong could only think of these two groups of people. But Yuan Hu and the others shook their heads. Boss, no. Sima Ju told him what happened in the past 2 days. They are from the Qingwei Group. Qingwei Group? Luo Qingtong heard his words and frowned. Do they have a grudge with us? She had never heard of the other party's name before, so she shouldn't have offended the other party. Why are they finding trouble for me for no reason? Cough. Hearing Luo Qingtong's words, Sima Ju, Yuan Hu, and Ling Tianhan all coughed lightly. They looked at each other, not knowing what to say to Luo Qingtong. Could they say, Boss, Qingwei Group thinks you stole their leader's man, so they're purposely looking for trouble? Don't say that out loud, just hearing it made them panic for their boss. Did their boss need to steal a man? Plus, even if she wanted to steal, it wasn't the Crown Prince. Their boss already had His Excellency Mingzun, okay? Even if she wanted to steal someone else's man, it should be him. Everyone was speechless, feeling that this was an undeserved disaster. Chapter 10:10. She found out that this matter was related to Ma Chenyi. Moreover, because of the other party's protection, the Qingwei Group's people thought that she stole their leader Yu Qingwei's man. Luo Qingtong was speechless. There was nothing between her and Ma Chenyi, okay? However, Luo Qingtong also knew that Ma Chenyi's protection of them was too obvious. She knew what the other party's purpose was, but others might not know. Naturally, they would think in other places. However, that wasn't a reason for the Qingwei Group to casually deal with her people. Moreover, that Yu Qingwei wasn't Ma Chenyi's fiancé. She just liked Ma Chenyi. Why would the Qingwei Group stand up for her and teach her a lesson? Did they really think that she was easy to bully? Luo Qingtong stood up with a cold face. At this moment, she glanced around and suddenly didn't see Su Xiaoxiao. She immediately asked, Where's Xiaoxiao? That girl couldn't have done something stupid, right? Yuan Hu and the others were baffled by her question. Suddenly Ling Yu cried out. Then she quickly looked at Luo Qingtong and said, Oh no, boss, Xiaoxiao might have gone to the Qingwei Group to gamble on medicine skills. Last time she said that she wanted the Qingwei Group to take back their words. The Qingwei Group's people were targeting Luo Qingtong. Unless the latter left the Empire of Qin, they would never stop. Then Su Xiaoxiao's only way was to gamble with them and force them to stop. However, how long had it been since Su Xiaoxiao entered the Empire of Qin? Even if her alchemy skills were very strong, the Qingwei group's people weren't weak. Most of them were the top geniuses of the medicine department. Ling Yuer's heart became anxious as she thought of this. Yuanhu and the others' hearts also thumped. Let's go to the medicine department to take a look. Luo Qingtong's brows also wrinkled. She knew that Su Xiaoxiao was definitely a top genius among the combat alchemists. However, the latter's talent in alchemy was too unique. Su Xiaoxiao might not lose to those people from the Qingwei group if they were to casually refine pills. But if the medicinal herbs were to be refined, Su Xiaoxiao would lose without a doubt. After all, her alchemy talent was such a fraud. Luo Qingtong thought so and immediately led everyone to the pharmaceutical courtyard. At the same time, in the herb garden, Su Xiaoxiao stood in front of the people from the Qingwei group. She looked nervously at the medicinal liquid in front of her. The latter and the others sneered. Su Xiaoxiao, stop struggling. Just based on that bit of alchemy skills of yours, how can you possibly be our match? You've lost 2 rounds in a row, and the medicinal liquid you concocted is even worse than trash. There's even an incomplete medicinal liquid. Are you really a genius specially recruited by the Grand Principal? I heard that the great teacher has the intention to train you. Sure enough, it's good to be associated with the Crown Prince. When a man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs ascend to the heavens. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can enter the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin and be taken care of by the instructors. The people from the Qingwei group looked at the girl in front of them with disdain. In their opinion, Su Xiaoxiao's talent in alchemy was so bad that she couldn't even be called an alchemist. It was ridiculous that such a person could enter the sacred academy of the Empire of Qin. Previously, she heard that Luo Qingtong was specially treated by the Grand Principal and was admitted into the academy because she managed to hook up with the Crown Prince. Not only that, even the people around her were specially recruited. Chapter 10-11. Now this Su Xiaoxiao looked like trash at first glance. They really didn't know why the head of the Pharmaceutical Institute had agreed to accept her. It was said that he had wanted to accept her as his last student, but Su Xiaoxiao had rejected him. When the Qingwei Society saw Su Xiaoxiao's performance, they only treated these words as a joke. What they didn't know was that Su Xiaoxiao's talent and power didn't lie in the fixed content of refining medicine. Yes, Su Xiaoxiao admitted that she had indeed been trash before. She didn't think that she was a genius who could look down on others. But these people insulted boss. This was absolutely not. All of you shut up. The girl who had always been soft and weak like a little white rabbit spoke in a small voice. Even when she quarreled with others, she would cry first. But now she was as angry as a fighting bull. She looked at the people of the Qingwei Society with red eyes. You can talk about me, but you're not allowed to scold my boss. So what if we scold her? Boss, you're such a trash boss. You can imagine what kind of trash Luo Qingtong is. Seducing His Highness the Crown Prince. If it weren't for Luo Qingtong hooking up with His Highness the Crown Prince, how could someone like Su Xiaoxiao enter the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin? When the people of the Qingwei Society thought this, their expressions became more and more disdainful. Su Xiaoxiao was so angry that her whole body trembled. At this moment, Luo Yi suddenly withdrew his hand. Done. She raised her eyebrows and said coldly. In front of her, a bottle of medicinal liquid that had already been refined was lying there quietly. Seeing that bottle of medicine, Su Xiaoxiao suddenly bit her lip. The medicine in front of her was only half refined. Time was up. She was going to fail again. Boss, I'm sorry. I'm so useless, Su Xiaoxiao said. Tears were about to fall from her eyes. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared beside her. Who said you're useless? Luo Qingtong appeared beside Su Xiaoxiao. She raised her hand to hold Su Xiaoxiao's hand and looked at the people from the Qingwei group with a hint of anger in her eyes. Then she said to Su Xiaoxiao coldly, "Close your eyes and feel it with your heart." As she spoke, a bloody light flashed in her eyes. In an instant, her spiritual power connected with Su Xiaoxiao. In an instant, Su Xiaoxiao saw a very wonderful scene in her mind. In the medicinal liquid before her, there were all sorts of different medicinal liquid compositions. Yellow, green, and blue. Su Xiaoxiao didn't recognize the colors of the various medicinal liquids. However, she could sense the aura contained within those colorful spots of light. Luo Qingtong's eye ability was different from the soul imprint of this world. The soul imprint in this world was unique. Other than the soul bearer himself, it could not be used by anyone else. However, Luo Qingtong's ocular ability was different. She could share it with others through a spiritual power connection. However, that was only possible if the other party had complete trust in her, and completely opened up her heart, mind, and even soul to her, allowing her spiritual power to enter. Luo Qingtong was now using her spiritual power to connect with Su Xiaoxiao. She shared the world she saw with her bloody eyes with Su Xiaoxiao. She could see the various ingredients in the medicinal liquid clearly. Su Xiaoxiao, I told you before that there is no absolute genius in this world. There is only one heart that is willing to become a genius. Feel the aura of the ingredients in these medicinal liquids carefully. Merge them. Chapter 10-12. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. The drawbacks of Su Xiaoxiao's alchemy talent were very obvious. She was born slower than others in sensing the composition of the medicinal liquid. She was also not sensitive to the degree of fusion of the medicinal liquid. Therefore, her success rate in alchemy was so low. At the same time, what others could do in half the time, she had to use twice or even several times the time to succeed. The level of the medicinal liquid after success was still so low. But her control over the fusion of the medicinal liquid was the strongest. She could stabilize the composition of the medicinal liquid many times. It could be said that Su Xiaoxiao's alchemy talent could be the best waste, but it could also be the best genius. Luo Qingtong now wanted to remove all the drawbacks of her alchemy talent. She took her to feel the obvious differences of the different compositions in the medicinal liquid. Improve her sensitivity to the composition of the alchemy and let her transform into a real alchemy genius. Yes. Su Xiaoxiao nodded heavily. She knew how shocking it was for Luo Qingtong to do all this to her. To be able to help others see the difference of the different compositions in the medicinal liquid. What kind of terrifying thing was this? Why were alchemists, spiritual array masters, and weapon refiners so noble and rare? It was because there were too few people with such talent. Martial artists could have strength by practicing martial arts and cultivation methods. Soul practitioners could develop the soul seal in their body and have unique strength. But alchemists, spiritual array masters, weapon refiners, and so on had no way to do it. If you had the talent, you had it. If you didn't have the talent, you couldn't understand it. Just based on this, Luo Qingtong could nurture countless alchemists. Su Xiaoxiao's eyes were shining. She closed her eyes and felt the different compositions of the medicinal liquid that Luo Qingtong took her to see. Just as she was immersed in the fusion and aura of the different medicinal liquid, Luo Yiran and the others sneered, deliberately mystifying. It was absolutely impossible for Su Xiaoxiao to succeed in refining. The other party was like this just now. Within the stipulated time, she couldn't even complete half of the fusion process of the medicinal liquid. How was it possible for him to successfully refine the medicinal liquid in such a short period of time? Mo Yufei even laughed out loud. She had just been watching Su Xiaoxiao make a fool of herself and didn't even bother to mock her. In Mo Yufei's view, people like Su Xiaoxiao were not worth her attention. But now that Luo Qingtong appeared, Mo Yufei couldn't hold back anymore. It was this woman who had crippled Yuan Mo. Thinking of the time when she went to see Yuan Ma, the latter's body was covered with frost and he couldn't move at all. Mo Yufei looked at Luo Qingtong as if she had been dipped in poison. As a princess of the royal family, since she had fallen in love with Yuan Ma, she naturally truly liked him. Who would have thought that the latter would end up like this? Now the engagement between Yuan Ma and Luo Qingtong was annulled. However, Yuan Mo was also crippled. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for her to be with Yuan Ma. If that was the case, it would have been better if Yuan Ma and Luo Qingtong hadn't annulled the engagement. At that time, Mo Yufei didn't take Luo Qingtong seriously at all. She had already made up her mind long ago. With her identity as a princess of the royal family of the Empire of Qin, as long as she insisted on marrying Yuan Ma, even if the latter was engaged, she would still be the main wife. At that time, Luo Qingtong could only be a concubine. What threat could she pose to her? Chapter 10-13. Mo Yufei wrung her hands fiercely and looked at Luo Qingtong with resentment. Luo Qingtong didn't bother to pay attention to her at all. All her attention was on Su Xiaoxiao at this moment. The latter's refining speed was getting faster and faster. Her technique was also getting more and more accurate. In the past, Su Xiaoxiao's refining technique was already fast enough because of her amazing talent. But now her technique was even faster. After seeing the different components of the medicinal liquid, Su Xiaoxiao's talent for controlling the fusion of medicinal liquids was completely revealed. Su Xiaoxiao felt that she had never been so relaxed and smooth. The omnipresent feeling of obstruction when refining medicine in the past had all disappeared. She felt that her fingers had almost turned into a series of afterimages. The next second after Luo Yiran packed up, when the time was up, her voice sounded. "I'm done too." Along with Su Xiaoxiao's voice. Her fingers, which had almost turned into afterimages, suddenly stopped. Then, a ball of medicinal liquid appeared in her palm. Swish. The ball of medicinal liquid was poured into the jade bottle in front of her. The disdain on the faces of the people of the Qingwei group instantly stiffened. They looked at the bottle of medicinal liquid in Su Xiaoxiao's hand. Everyone could see that the medicinal liquid refined by Su Xiaoxiao was much stronger than the one refined by Luo Yiran. There was no need for a selection at all. Su Xiaoxiao had already won this round. How is this possible? Luo Yiran's confident expression suddenly changed. She looked at the bottle of medicinal liquid in Su Xiaoxiao's hand. How was this possible? Su Xiaoxiao was obviously going to lose. How could she refine the medicinal liquid so quickly? It was as if her talent had suddenly soared in an instant. But how was this possible? A person's talent was fixed. It was absolutely impossible for there to be any change. Not to mention a temporary improvement. Luo Yiran would not be surprised if Su Xiaoxiao came to her for alchemy and won against her after she improved her strength in the future. However, right in front of her, Su Xiaoxiao had won the battle that she was bound to lose. This made her feel extremely incredulous. The other person who couldn't believe it was Mo Yufei. She had just been laughing at Luo Qingtong, laughing at her for overestimating herself and thinking that Su Xiaoxiao would win by saying a few words. But in the end, Su Xiaoxiao really won. Mo Yufei was so angry that she snapped the horsewhip in her hand in half. However, because he used too much strength, his fingernails were knocked away. He was in so much pain that he gasped for breath, and his face was distorted. However, the surrounding crowd had a different thought. It turned out that it wasn't that Su Xiaoxiao didn't have talent, but that her performance wasn't stable. Now that he had been forced to the extreme, he had erupted. In that case, the Grand Principal didn't recruit her because of the rumors of a single person ascending to the heavens. Then, was it the same for Yuan Hu and the others? If that was the case, they had wronged Luo Qingtong and the others. However, the people from the Qingwei group felt as if they had been slapped in the face. They had just said that Su Xiaoxiao was trash and relied on Luo Qingtong to climb up the Crown Prince to enter the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin and become a heaven-grade student. Now, Su Xiaoxiao's talent had erupted and she had won against Luo Yiran in the last round of the medicine refining competition. One had to know that Luo Yiran's medicine refining ability was second only to Yu Qingwei in their medicine courtyard. She had actually lost to Su Xiaoxiao. Even if it was only one round, it proved that Su Xiaoxiao's medicine refining talent wasn't bad and was even better than theirs. Chapter 10-14. The group of people were humiliated by their own words and instantly felt ashamed. Their faces turned purple and their hearts were filled with unspeakable embarrassment. Yuan Hu and the others naturally wouldn't let go of such a great opportunity to ridicule the Qingwei group. Especially Yuan Hu, who wasn't stingy, he immediately laughed loudly. "Yo, didn't you say it quite loudly before? Our Xiaoxiao is trash, I'm really sorry. You guys lost to trash. I think you shouldn't be called Qingwei group in the future. Just call yourself Trash Group. This name suits you quite well." Ling Yu added. "That's right, or you can call yourself Arrogant Group," Sima Ju said with a faint expression. There was a hint of mockery on her elf-like face. The Qingwei group's faces turned ugly. At this moment, Mo Yufei's voice sounded. "You just won one round, what's there to be happy about? According to the rules of the bet, 2 out of 3 rounds wins. This time the Qingwei group still wins. Su Xiaoxiao can't provide medicine for you anymore. You can laugh as much as you want now. In a few days you won't even have time to cry and beg us." Mo Yufei looked at Luo Qingtong and the others with fire spewing out of her eyes. "Senior Sister Luo, let's go, don't lower yourself to their level. They'll suffer after a while," Mo Yufei said as she pulled Luo Yiran and the others away. Looking at her leaving figure, Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. She already knew that the Qingwei group's actions against her this time were mostly Mo Yufei's doing. This royal princess of the Empire of Qin dynasty was really infatuated with Yuanma. For him, she was jealous of Su Jinyue. Not only did she fight with Su Jinyue, but she also dealt with Luo Qingtong in various ways. Since she was so infatuated, Luo Qingtong would fulfill her wish. Luo Qingtong thought as she raised her hand and flicked an aura onto Mo Yufei. This aura was the aura that Luo Qingtong imitated from Yu Wenma's engagement token jade pendant. The cold chi in Yu Wenma's body exploded, and he was in great pain. If he felt that Mo Yufei had an aura that could relieve his pain, what would he do? Luo Qingtong's smile was wanton. She was looking forward to the next meeting between Mo Yufei and Yu Wenma. It would definitely be very passionate. Luo Qingtong brought Su Xiaoxiao and the others back to the Heavenly Demon Group's courtyard. Along the way, Su Xiaoxiao was very excited. She surrounded Luo Qingtong and chattered non-stop. "Boss, you're amazing." Su Xiaoxiao's eyes lit up. She looked at Luo Qingtong with eyes full of worship. "Boss is really too awesome." Su Xiaoxiao had never thought that she would one day be able to refine pills so smoothly. Oh my god. She felt that her perception of the composition of the medicinal liquid had increased. She would go back and think about it carefully. Her talent would definitely improve. When the time came for him to refine medicine, he would definitely not be so deceptive anymore. Boss couldn't be more awesome. Luo Qingtong smiled but didn't say anything. She had wanted to help Su Xiaoxiao improve her alchemy talent a long time ago. But she wasn't strong enough before, so she couldn't do such a mental connection. This time, taking advantage of the bet between Su Xiaoxiao and the Qingwei group, she was able to do it. Su Xiaoxiao's emotions were surging at that time. It was the most intense and angry time, so when her perception was improved, the effect was the best. She also gave the Qingwei group a slap in the face. Why not? Chapter 10-15. I'll let it go this time, but don't do it again. Su Xiaoxiao nodded guiltily. She was indeed too impulsive this time. Not only did she send herself to be humiliated, but she also caused Boss to be humiliated and ridiculed. Thinking of this, she suddenly felt very guilty in her heart. Just as she was about to say that she was wrong, she heard Luo Qingtong's voice continue to sound. "Wait for me." As soon as Luo Qingtong said this, Su Xiaoxiao's eyes instantly lit up. "Yes," she replied loudly, her face full of joy and excitement. It turned out that Boss's words just now weren't to reprimand her, but to prevent her from being bullied again. Su Xiaoxiao's heart immediately became happy. "And you guys too." Luo Qingtong looked at Yuan Hu and the others. These people went through life and death with her in the Kaiyuan mystic realm, so Luo Qingtong naturally trusted them. She would never allow anyone to bully them. "Yes." Yuan Hu and the others also responded happily. "What about me? Big sister, what about me?" Yu Xingqi hugged the little white cat and leaned in front of Luo Qingtong with a face full of anticipation. "Don't you have your brother?" Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at her. With her identity, why would she need her protection? Yu Xingqi looked depressed. "So angry, I want to sell my stupid brother in exchange for big sister." Every time her stupid brother helped her, he would insult her. How could he be better than big sister? Look at how domineering she is. Yuan Hu and the others saw her like this and immediately laughed. Although they hadn't known Yu Xingqi for long, this little loli was very smart and cute. Although she was a little scheming, she only cheated outsiders. Everyone liked her very much. Ling Yu walked over and hugged Yu Xingqi, comforting her with a smile. The group was very happy. At this moment, Yuan Hu suddenly said, "Boss, what do you plan to do about the Qingwei group?" As soon as his words came out, everyone instantly fell silent. The Qingwei group had gone too far this time. He called on all the people of the Sacred Academy to boycott Luo Qingtong and the others. Now that the Heavenly Demon Group was having a hard time in the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin, they would only become more and more arrogant if they were allowed to do as they pleased. Moreover, Yuan Hu and the others' daily training had been disrupted. This would be detrimental to their future growth and strength. Luo Qingtong was about to speak when suddenly, Sima Ju's voice sounded. "Boss, it's the Crown Prince and the others." He pointed ahead as he spoke. Everyone raised their heads and saw a group of people standing at the entrance of the courtyard. Their leader was naturally the Crown Prince of the Empire of Qin, Ma Chenyi. The young man was wearing a green gown with white flowers. The white bamboo embroidered on his robe looked indescribably slender and elegant. Paired with his jade-like face, he had an indescribable temperament. Ma Chenyi was here to apologize. He also didn't expect that Mo Yufei would incite the people of Qingwei group to make trouble. When he found out about this, it was already too late. Luo Qingtong had already confronted the people of Qingwei group. And Ma Chenyi knew that even if he went to persuade the people of Qingwei group, it would be useless. This was the holy court of the Empire of Qin. He couldn't use his identity as the Crown Prince to suppress people. Otherwise, Mo Qinshuan's dragon group wouldn't be so arrogant. What's more, the people of Qingwei group attacked Luo Qingtong precisely because he defended her. If he went to persuade them, the people of Qingwei group would only become more aggressive. Chapter 10:16. I'm sorry for what happened this time. Ma Chenyi said directly to Luo Qingtong, do you need me to do anything? If necessary, I can use my identity as the crown prince to put pressure on the families behind them. Ma Chenyi said simply. Doing so would definitely cause a certain blow to his reputation as the crown prince. Moreover, the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin clearly stipulated that students and mentors here were not allowed to use other identities and forces to solve disputes. However, what Luo Qingtong faced this time was all because of him. Ma Chenyi could not ignore it. What was more, he had nothing to lose now. If Mo Qinshian became the crown prince, he, as the crown prince, could not escape death sooner or later. Whether for morality or his own selfishness, Ma Chenyi would choose to stand on Luo Qingtong's side. No need. Luo Qingtong looked indifferent. Ma Chenyi's reaction made her very satisfied. It was not that she had no means to fight back, but she wanted to see Ma Chenyi's attitude. If he stood on the side of the Qingwei clique and asked her to retreat and apologize or alienate her, then she would rather use another way to deal with Mo Qinshian than help Ma Chenyi to solve the skill of seizing luck in his body. The medicinal liquid that she had refined before to warm his body could also be thrown away. After all, she did not owe Ma Chenyi anything. Since the latter helped her, she would naturally return the favor. If the latter chose to stay away from her, then when she settled accounts this time, she would naturally use his kindness to offset her fault. Luo Qingtong did not like to owe people favors. But she was not a cheap Virgin Mary. There were many ways to deal with Mo Qinshian. She did not have to help Ma Chenyi. Fortunately, the latter's choice made her very relieved. You just don't help either side. Luo Qingtong said. It was child's play for the Qingwei clique to threaten her with medicinal liquid. If they used other ways to deal with her, it would be more troublesome for her to solve it. Medicinal liquid? Luo Qingtong could easily transfer a large number of potions from the Black Field. She didn't need to be threatened by the other party. However, it would be too boring to solve it like this. What's more, the Saint Academy's matter was settled by the Saint Academy. Luo Qingtong would not break this rule. She naturally had a way to deal with the Qingwei group. All right. Ma Chenyi agreed. Although he didn't know what Luo Qingtong wanted to do, but looking at the way the latter dealt with the dragon group, the Qingwei group shouldn't be able to take advantage of her. This time the people from the Qingwei group had indeed gone too far. It was good for them to be taught a lesson and suffer some setbacks. As for Qingwei, when she came back he would have a good talk with her. He believed that this was not her original intention. Ma Chenyi thought and prepared to leave. Luo Qingtong stopped him at this moment. Wait, this is for you, she said and handed over the body-warming medicinal liquid that she had refined in the past few days to Ma Chenyi. Bathe in this medicinal liquid 3 times a day. The interval between baths should not be more than 8 hours. After a month, I will take you to find that person and solve the hidden danger in your body. Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. Ma Chenyi was stunned for a moment, then quickly reacted. You mean? He excitedly clenched the jade bottle in his hand, looking at Luo Qingtong with a face of disbelief. She couldn't be talking about the person he was thinking about, right? This medicinal liquid was refined for him by the evil Dr. Gui Tong? No matter how Ma Chenyi thought about it, the person Luo Qingtong was talking about should be the evil Dr. Gui Tong. Chapter 10:17. The changes in my body are really because of you. Although he had guessed it before, when Luo Qingtong really admitted it, Ma Chenyi still felt a huge surprise in his heart. He did befriend Luo Qingtong because of the hidden danger in his body, but he didn't completely hold out hope. What's more, the girl herself was worthy of his friendship. Unexpectedly, he really made the right bet. Thank you. Ma Chenyi held the jade bottle in his hand and thanked Luo Qingtong with a serious expression. Thank you for helping me. Ma Chenyi didn't know Luo Qingtong's true identity. But he felt that if it weren't for Luo Qingtong speaking up for him, evil Dr. Gui Tong wouldn't have helped him so directly. He originally thought that if there was a chance in the future, he would ask Luo Qingtong to introduce him to evil Dr. Gui Tong, and then he would mention this matter to the latter. But he didn't expect that Luo Qingtong had unknowingly seen through the situation in his body. Not only did she help him prevent the draconic qi in his body from dissipating, but she also asked evil Dr. Gui Tong to help him solve the hidden danger in his body. Ma Chengyi thought that the gift of medicine in the Tianyu Empire was probably the most correct thing he did in his life. Ma Chengyi took the jade bottle and left. Luo Qingtong told him to go back and immediately purchase a large number of medicinal liquids. Although Ma Chengyi didn't understand why, he still agreed. After sending off Ma Chengyi, Luo Qingtong began to prepare for what to do next. At this time she received a message from the Grand Supreme Dean, asking her to go over. Evil Dr. Gui Tong. In the dean's office, the Grand Supreme Dean dragged out his voice and called Luo Qingtong. The latter had goosebumps all over her body when she heard his sweet voice. Grand Supreme Dean, what do you want? Just say it. Luo Qingtong really couldn't stand him acting cute in front of her at such an old age. In fact, little pig, who was squatting in her sleeve, couldn't help but shiver. Pete was too scary. She wasn't afraid of the elders of the Grand Supreme Institute, but she was afraid of him acting cute. That wrinkled chrysanthemum face was really nothing to look at. It stung the eyes. Cough. The Grand Principal coughed again after hearing Luo Qingtong's straightforward words. He rubbed his hands and said, actually it's nothing much. It's just about you and the Qingwei group. Luo Qingtong glanced at him with a faint smile and said, what, you want me to back down and keep the peace? No. The Grand Supreme Dean hurriedly shook his head. How could he dare to let Luo Qingtong back down and apologize? This was not her fault in the first place. If he were to really say that, this girl would turn around and leave in a matter of minutes. The Grand Principal had gone through so much trouble to get her to come to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. How could he do such a thing? Ahem. I just want you to show some mercy. The Grand Supreme Dean rubbed his hands together. In fact, he was also very frustrated. He didn't know if this evil Dr. Gui Tong had a grudge against the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. After he invited her here, he came to her with a lot of trivial things. Needless to say, the matter with Yuan Ma was not a problem. After all, they were engaged. The grudges between them must be solved. Therefore, it was within his expectation that the Dragon Group would go against Luo Qingtong. Anyway, he supported the Crown Prince's faction. He didn't care if Luo Qingtong went against Mo Qinxian. But what was wrong with the Qingwei group? The Grand Principal tugged at his beard, feeling that he was simply worrying too much. Chapter 10:18. The Qingwei group was in the wrong in the first place. You should teach them a lesson. But that girl Yu Qingwei's personality isn't bad. She's also a good person. Her talent and strength are top-notch in the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin. She most likely doesn't know about what happened this time. If you meet her in the future, just treat it as this old man asking you to be lenient. Don't be too ruthless. The Grand Principal said with a bitter face. It wasn't easy to nurture a genius pharmacist, especially Yu Qingwei. Before he found Luo Qingtong and Su Xiaoxiao, she had always been the trump card of the medicine courtyard. She was the top genius pharmacist of the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin. The Grand Principal naturally didn't want her to fight to the death with Luo Qingtong. So he came to plead for leniency. Luo Qingtong found it funny. She looked at the Grand Principal's wrinkled face and said, don't worry. If she really is the kind of person you say she is, as long as she doesn't take the initiative to provoke me, I won't do anything to her. Luo Qingtong's personality was evil, solitary, and liked to hold grudges. Whoever angered her had to be prepared to be skinned alive. But she wouldn't casually bully others. As long as the other party didn't provoke her for no reason, she definitely wouldn't make a move. But if the other party deliberately provoked her, then sorry, she wouldn't give face to the emperor. Okay. The Grand Principal quickly nodded. Luo Qingtong being able to give him this kind of promise was already very good. He couldn't let her not pursue this matter, right? Not to mention Luo Qingtong, even if he was provoked like this, he wouldn't be willing to let it go. The Grand Principal thought for a while and nodded. That's right. He said to Luo Qingtong, you don't need to worry about that blockhead. He's very good right now. I sent him to do some things for me. When he comes back, his strength will definitely be reborn. Speaking of Chu Lingfeng, the Grand Principal's face turned green. These two master and servant weren't to be trifled with. Luo Qingtong was one thing, but that blockhead was a desperate man. After coming to the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin, he desperately challenged the students on the rankings. Originally, the Grand Principal and the teachers of the Empire of Qin Holy Court were quite happy to see this situation. Originally, the Great Qin Sacred Academy encouraged students to compete with each other as this would help them temper themselves. But Chu Lingfeng, that blockhead, didn't care about his life when he fought. Not only that, but he also was of the school's challenge but also the most important thing. Needless to say, if he continued to challenge like this, his strength would indeed increase very quickly. But the other students couldn't take it anymore. They did not have Chu Lingfeng's abnormal physique. Even if they were beaten half to death one day, they would be full of energy the next day. Every time they fought with Chu Lingfeng, they would have to rest for a long time. But if they didn't provoke Chu Lingfeng, he would provoke them. In short, if there was a challenge, they had to go. If there was no challenge, they had to create a challenge. Because of this, the Grand Principal's office was almost trampled to the ground by the students. The Grand Principal had no choice but to send Chu Lingfeng out and let him harm others. First, he could improve his strength. Second, he could vent his anger. It was killing two birds with one stone. Thinking of this, the Grand Supreme Dean laughed secretly. Luo Qingtong nodded. Chapter 10:19. However, it was a good thing that he was treated differently by the Grand Dean. The Grand Dean had sharp eyes and knew how to train him. Luo Qingtong wanted to say goodbye to the Grand Dean, so she turned around and went back directly. The Qingwei group's actions against the Heavenly Demon group were getting more and more intense. After the bet, the Qingwei group went back and spread the news that anyone who went against the Heavenly Demon group would be able to get their free elixirs. It seemed that they were determined to push Luo Qingtong out of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. At the same time, at the Dragon Group's base, Mo Qinshian looked at the news in front of him and sneered. Ma Qingyi is going to buy elixirs from the outside? He is going to support Luo Qingtong and her Heavenly Demon group to the end? Mo Qinshuan's face was full of disdain. Luo Qingtong was a woman from an inferior country. Even if she had some talent and strength, it was okay to play with her. Ma Qingyi was crazy to be so protective of her. However, this was exactly what he wanted. Mo Qinshian thought and immediately ordered the people around him, "Let our people buy elixirs from the market immediately. No matter the price, buy all of them." Didn't Ma Qingyi want to help Luo Qingtong? He would let him help as much as he wanted. Mo Qinshian had a good plan. He wanted to buy most of the elixirs from the market before Ma Qingyi did. By then, if Ma Qingyi still wanted to help Luo Qingtong, he would have to buy the elixirs at a high price. By then he could sell the elixirs he had. He could make a lot of money and use this to annoy Ma Qingyi in the future. Thinking of this, Mo Qinshian burst into laughter. In the Qingwei group, Luo Yiran and Mo Yufei were so angry when they heard this. Brother Crown Prince is so silly. It's all because of that Luo Qingtong who bewitched Brother Crown Prince. Mo Yufei gritted her teeth and said fiercely, "Humph, even if your highness wants to help Luo Qingtong, it's only temporary." It was impossible for Luo Qingtong and the others to buy all the medicinal liquids they needed from outside. Let's see how long they can last, Roy said. Ma Qingyi's actions infuriated her. Originally, she thought that since they were targeting Luo Qingtong, the Crown Prince would inevitably alienate her. She didn't expect him to be so protective of her. Princess Yufei was right. Luo Qingtong had to be eliminated. She had actually bewitched the Crown Prince to such an extent. In the eyes of Luo Yiran and the rest of the Qingwei group, only Yu Qingwei was worthy of Ma Qingyi. Of course. I want to see how unlucky Luo Qingtong and the others are. Mo Yufei was very proud. Luo Qingtong and the others couldn't be arrogant this time. Big Brother Shen had already made his move. The matter of Big Brother Crown Prince collecting the medicinal liquid this time would absolutely not go so smoothly. Luo Qingtong and the others would definitely not be able to hold on. They could only wait to be driven out of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Even if they didn't leave the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, their days in the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin would be hated by everyone, just like rats crossing the street. This was the result of offending her. Mo Yufei felt very comfortable as if she could already see the miserable days of Luo Qingtong and the others in the future. She thought of Yu Wenma and decided to tell him the news to make him happy. As for Su Jinyue, Mo Yufei really didn't want to see her disgusting appearance. Mo Yufei thought of this and immediately went to find Yu Wenma. Chapter 10:20. No one knew what she was doing inside. However, Su Xiaoxiao and the rest had been instructed by Luo Qingtong not to act rashly and to wait for her to come out. Therefore, no matter how the Qingwei group provoked them, Su Xiaoxiao and the rest restrained themselves and ignored them. They believed that when Luo Qingtong came out, she would definitely have a way to solve the Qingwei group's problem. Boss. A group of people stood guard outside Luo Qingtong's door. At this moment, they heard a creak and Luo Qingtong's door opened. Su Xiaoxiao and the rest turned around in surprise and saw the figure of the young girl who appeared at the door. They cried out in surprise. Luo Qingtong nodded lightly and stepped out. All right, you can go to the Pharmaceutical Institute now. Everyone looked at Luo Qingtong in surprise. Boss, you're not going? The group looked at Luo Qingtong. Of course I'll go, but not with you, Luo Qingtong said with a smile. She rubbed the waist ring on her finger, which contained her results from the past few days. Today she was going to break the Qingwei group's plan and their pride. They wanted to force her to leave the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin? They weren't qualified. In the resource hall of the Pharmaceutical Institute, a group of students from the Pharmaceutical Institute were busy inside. They were counting the medicinal liquid resources that they had collected and were going to distribute to the students of the Holy Institute of the Empire of Qin. These medicinal liquid resources were all refined by the students of the Pharmaceutical Institute. Among them there were naturally high and low grades. The high-grade medicinal liquid exclusive to the Heavenly Hall was refined by the best of the students of the Pharmaceutical Institute. Those people were almost all members of the Qingwei group. The students of the Pharmaceutical Institute in the resource hall were counting as usual. They were counting and chatting at the same time. There's still no Heavenly Demon Group's resources today. Yeah. It seems that the Qingwei group is really going to kill them all. Without the medicinal liquid, their strength in the Heavenly Palace will soon be surpassed by others. When the time comes, there will be a lot of people waiting to replace them as heaven-grade students. That's right. I think that Luo Qingtong will be forced to withdraw from the Holy Academy. After all, the entire Qingwei group is against her. This isn't the same as when she dealt with the Dragon Corps. At this time, martial arts won't be of much use. The Qingwei group isn't afraid either. As long as they don't give the elixirs to the Heavenly Demon group, Luo Qingtong and the others will naturally weaken. Yeah. Someone continued, I heard that His Highness the Crown Prince is preparing to purchase medicinal liquids outside. However, he can only purchase them for a while, but can he continue to purchase them? Furthermore, even His Highness the Crown Prince wouldn't be able to bear such an enormous price, right? Exactly. The group of people gossiped. At this moment, a figure stepped in from the outside. Luo Qingtong's face was covered with a layer of light-colored veil. Her beautiful face was hidden behind the veil, only revealing a pair of eyes. Who's there? The student of the resource hall saw someone enter and immediately said, only students of the Pharmaceutical Institute are allowed to enter. He had never seen this person before. She shouldn't be a student of the Pharmaceutical Institute. However, just as he spoke, Luo Qingtong took out a token from her bosom. I'm a student of the Pharmaceutical Institute. That you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.